liaison link between the students as well as the overseas professors too. We're hoping that what we're able to do is to provide an environment that engenders, if you like, professionalism, so that those people who want to come and study here not only benefit from it being an academic environment, but also that it's also a professional environment. And what you'll see is a lot of the people who come here themselves, if you like, are professionals. The students who come are professionals, and it allows an exchange of ideas at a professional basis as well as an academic basis. So I believe, I very strongly believe, that we have a program that's quite unique, and I think it does educate, if you like, and improve, if you like, the professionalism of our students, so that they are more successful, if you like, in the Thai community, in the jobs and the careers that they follow down the track. And just to sort of finish that off, IMC is not the only area that we cover in DPUIC. We also have a program in business informatics, which is an IT program, but it's oriented towards business and management. So it looks at data and how data is managed, if you like, in organizations. And we're also introducing a new one, hopefully in May this year, on strategy and intelligence. Now that sounds quite military, but it's not just meant for the military. We're hoping for the police, as well as for civilians who work in the intelligence area, as well as chief CEOs of major companies. And one of the reasons for doing this, of course, is if you look at the political environment in Thailand, the military play a significant role as well as civilians. And so if industry wants to be able to maintain, I guess, good relations with the political area, then they need to maintain it not only with politicians but with the military and elsewhere. And hopefully that these new programs, these master's and doctorate programs, will also provide that kind of link as well. So I did a bit of PR. I'm not going to take all your time. I hope you find the seminar this afternoon very interesting. And I would like to point out that DPUIC tries to offer these sort of in the future as well. So if looking at our website and things like that, you will find out about other seminars that are given by professors who come from overseas. That will give you an opportunity, if you like, to experience professors who are leading, if you like, in their fields for something that might be interesting. So welcome, and I hope you enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Newton. Ladies and gentlemen, next I would like for you to have the pleasure of hearing from our keynote speaker, who will speak on the future IMC in global perspective, as visiting professor of DPUIC. Associate Professor Arthur Goldgate is renowned faculty of ICN School of Management, the University of Nancy in France, an expert in innovation and creativity, international marketing, advertising and public relations, and more. Please join me to welcome Associate Professor Arthur Goldgate.
Thank you, everyone. It's a pleasure and a privilege to be with you this afternoon. And I'm going to talk for a little while, we don't have too long, about integrated marketing communications in a global sense. And I've selected to really address two areas. One is the global issue, and the other is the state of... You're looking the wrong side. Okay. I'd like to begin by looking at one question. The question is, are we really global and connected? Because integrated marketing communications in a global sense means connection. Well, if we look at it from one perspective, I love these things. We say, yes, one of the things we can do to really affirm that we are global and connected, one, we can say, no one really predicted a worldwide recession. In fact, if you go back a year or 2 years, people said a worldwide recession was impossible. Local ones, okay. But what started in one country spread to the world. We could also look at the fact of some years ago when they had the SARS in China and Hong Kong. Luckily, they were able to contain it. Last year when they had the outbreak of swine flu, it started in Mexico. And Mexico couldn't contain it. They tried in the beginning, but it was impossible. With air travel today, the reality is that any disease that starts in one country will very quickly spread to the rest of the world. Now, we were lucky, of course, that swine flu was not as deadly as they had first predicted. and it wasn't as deadly as the SARS was. If you put on any of the channels, like CNN, you'll find that anything that happens in the world is known throughout the rest of the world almost instantaneously. You can find out, and you can get the SMSs or the text messages that come in right on your mobile phone. You can find out what's going on in the world at any time of the day, any place. This is being global, and it's also being connected. You have the internet, of course, mobile phones. You can work anywhere, anytime. I'm an example of that. I work in France. And I also work all over the world. Actually, I'm a bit strange because I spend, I guess, part of my time in France now, about a quarter of my time, even though it's my full-time job. And then I also teach in Hong Kong, teach in Bangkok, and I do a lot of work in the US also because my background is from the US. I was born in New York. So I was lucky that a couple of years ago I managed to convince my director of the business school in France. I said, you know, if you really want to use me, well, let me travel all over and I'll still work for you. And I said, if I'm in France, you're just wasting me in meetings. It doesn't work. And with the internet, with mobile phones, you see I have 2 at the moment. I usually carry 3, but today I only brought 2. This is my Bangkok mobile. This is my Hong Kong mobile. You can work anytime, any place. Now, of course, people can call me in the middle of the night, and my wife doesn't understand that I have to check email 50 times a day. And she thinks I don't work at all. I tell her I'm working. She said, no, you're not working. You're just on the email. What are you doing? Talking to who? I said, to everybody. But this can happen, and you can really work anytime, any place. This is the positive side. And of course, air travel. You can be any place is just a plane ride away. And you can get on the plane and be any place. I travel pretty much all the time, or at least not all the time, but a lot. Somebody the other day here in DPU, they asked me a question. They said, how many miles did you fly last year? And I didn't. I never really totaled it up. And I said, I thought about it, and I said, 150,000 miles. And that sounded good, but then about a day later I remembered that was only on one airline. And I travel on several airlines, so the answer is probably at least 200,000 or maybe closer to 300,000 miles a year, or last year I flew. Now that's a lot. But any place in the world is sort of right next door. And it's true. We are global and we are connected. Come on. I always love these things. They never work. Never, never. Of course, I never tell people that. There we go. Technology. Well, technology is usually ahead of people. At least it's ahead of most people. And technology really makes us more global. One of the things we could look at is texting, text messages, what they call SMS. And it's interesting. A couple of months ago, I got a phone call from my wife, and she said, hey, we have a problem with the youngest daughter. I have 2 daughters, by the way. I have one who's 21 and the other one who's 16. And she told me, we have a problem with the 16-year-old. She's sending too many text messages. She's sending 2,500 text messages, SMS, every month. That's crazy. And my other daughter, who's 21, said, yeah, I only send 700 a month. The young one's sending 2,500. This is totally out of whack. This is crazy. So my wife said, yes, my youngest daughter has a text addiction. And of course, we should send her to the psychologist. Well, my wife is a psychologist, and her solution to everything is send somebody to the psychologist. So I asked a stupid question. I said, how many text messages are the other kids in her school, because my daughter's in high school, sending? Well, we asked around, and all of her friends are sending 3,000 SMS a month. My daughter was only 2,500, so she was happy that she was under the average. But my older daughter, who's only 4 years older than the younger one, had already jumped in that time from 700 to 3,000.